From shipping role players in and out like an Amazon warehouse to fired head coaches and GMs, the Denver Nuggets have been through the ringer this season. Still riding the high of their NBA championship run from just 2 seasons ago, the Mile High Crew have been one of the NBA's biggest question marks following an early playoff exit a season ago to a young but powerful Timberwolves squad, to this year being taken out by one of the championship favorites in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, Nikola Jokic just ended his most impressive regular season yet, being the first non-guard to ever average a triple-double, along with incredible efficiency that is yet to be seen in such alien-like but nonchalant fashion. Although he did not take home the MVP award, this will go down in history as one of the most unbelievable individual seasons by a player in the history of the entire league. And unfortunately for him, the roster around him has continuously failed to show up when he needed him the most, sometimes appearing that Jokic is the only one trying to will his team to victory, while other guys miss some very questionable shots. Westbrook, MPJ. The Denver Nuggets are a team I myself have struggled to understand, but they proved a lot more to everyone this season, to everyone who doubted them, knocking down a scorching hot Clippers team in 7 games, followed by pushing the Western Conference favorites to their absolute limits. What really caused the shift in this momentum for the Nuggets to bring them to these heights, and what are their best case scenarios going forward? I know it's very hard to say what their goals are going forward. With everything they've gone through this season, honestly, they way overachieved expectations, and I could not be more happy for them. Hello everyone, I'm Mason, and the Nuggets went from high to low, and honestly, I think with everything they've been through, it's safe to say they had a pretty incredible turnaround after all the stress of the last few weeks of the season. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it very much. Also, you rocking with the jacket? But hey, don't worry, we got Cinnabron here to save the day. In order to really understand what the Nuggets have done, we need to look at what happened after their championship run. Bringing home the first title to the Denver Nuggets after being a franchise for over 50 seasons, there were a lot of question marks. Was Bruce Brown gonna stay? Would Jokic go home to his horses? The answer to the first one was definitely no. Bruce Brown would end up leaving, but Jokic would obviously return home to take care of his noble steeds. And last year, they would really dig deep in the playoffs, and they would start out down 2-0 to the Minnesota Timberwolves, even having home court advantage, would fight their way back and end up losing in Game 7 after blowing a 20-point lead. And for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, during his time on the Nuggets, he would be signed to a 2-year, $30 million deal, which was actually a pretty good value for everything he brought on both ends of the court, being able to efficiently shoot the 3 ball and also be a very good lockdown defender. Well, the problem was, because of that value, other teams were willing to pay him some pretty solid cash. He would sign for 3 years, $66 million with the Orlando Magic, and well, his 3-point shot pretty much disappeared effectively this season, as he went from being a reliable 41 to 42% 3-point shooter to only 34% this past season on a similar amount of attempts. Now, we can credit Jokic for part of this, as his incredible playmaking is a very good reason why KCP's 3-point percentage would be higher, similar to how it was when he was in LA playing with LeBron. In the beginning of this year, if you remember, the Nuggets started off pretty rough, and I personally criticized them for such a slow start, and I was truly worried about this team. After all, it is worth holding them to championship expectations when they do have the best player in the world. Now, they would figure out some things along the road, but I'd say the biggest story of this season for Denver is Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon has tremendously stepped up to fill that void of a 3-point shooter. The dude shot almost 44% from 3 on the year, and in the playoffs, he's shooting 38% from 3, and I mean, he's been hitting clutch shot after clutch shot in the playoffs. 2 game winners? Are you serious? The guy went from being high-flying dunker, not a great 3-point shooter, and then all of a sudden he turned it around. He's still bully ball physical, get to the rim. He's able to play good defense, and man, that guy can shoot the lights out now. The best part is also that the Denver Nuggets have him locked up through 2028, so that'll be very, very good for them. And Jamal Murray has done his usual coast through the regular season, but he was not as incredible as he usually is in the playoffs. But I think the man who really proved all the doubters wrong this season was none other than Russell Westbrook. The stats may not tell you the full story about the guy, but he is such an up and down player. But there were times throughout this regular season, especially when Jamal Murray was out with injury, that this guy was absolutely insane. Now, as a starter this season, he would average stats of 15, 6, and 7 in 36 games started, along with a 58% true shooting, which for him, compared to his off the bench being only 48%, that tells you a huge difference right there. The guy has been a such hustle energy guy for this team. As a Thunder fan myself, we always preach that that Russell Westbrook brought the energy and the heart and the passion to the team, and this Nuggets team was very similar in that way, that he was able to bring a lot of heart. Now, as much as it sucks to say though, for the guy, he did not play well in the playoffs, especially in the Thunder series. He actually played pretty well in the series against the Clippers, and again, there was a couple games in that series I'd seriously doubt that they would have won without him. Now, in the Thunder series, he would put up stats of 10.5 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 35.5% from the field, and just under 19% for three. Not at all what you want to see from one of your primary bench options, and at times he was getting left and just disrespected by the Thunder. They just wanted to see him shoot the ball any chance they got, and well, it rewarded them pretty well. But the biggest reward of this Nuggets season, probably finding their next head coach. David Adelman has been incredible coaching this team, and I think getting rid of Malone and Calvin Booth was actually a game-changing move for the Nuggets. I used it as a reason to kind of put them down, and I thought, hey, they just got rid of their head coach, they're going to struggle. Well, David Adelman has also been giving more leeway, understanding to the players, and especially a guy like Jokic, who is a very good player coach, being able to lead the huddle or in the timeout. He's able to get some words in to get his team fired up. And David Adelman has been incredible when it comes to letting some of his veterans do that. It also appeared that in this series, he outcoached Mark Daigneault of the Thunder a couple times, and especially in game one down the stretch, Mark Daigneault kind of fumbled coaching wise, and the Nuggets were able to steal game one. They incorporated a lot of zone defense and a lot of collapsing on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, preventing him from getting to his spots on the offensive side and showing him what it's like to really struggle. In a few games of this series, they were able to win a couple of games this way, as they forced a couple of unreliable shooters for the Thunder to try to beat them, in which it actually worked out in the Nuggets' favor. The Nuggets have many guys around them, such as Peyton Watson, who is a very good piece going forward, and I think he's very promising looking at his young career already, and his defensive versatility is already scary, and he's only in his third year. You have a guy like Julian Strawther, who is a pretty solid scoring option and can be aggressive to create his own shot a little bit of the time. Not just that, but he helped seal off game 6 with his tremendous impact off the bench, and in just a few minutes, he was already torching, burying 3 after 3. And while some may look through the negative lens and see this Nuggets season as a disappointment, I can say that I seriously could not be more proud of them for pushing their expectation further and further. Beating the Clippers was seriously no easy task. I mean, that was the hottest team in basketball heading into the playoffs. They were 18-3 in their last 21 games, along with the #1 offense in the league in that span. Kawhi was playing like normal playoff Kawhi. He had some incredible games in that series as well. I think the biggest story for this team, though, was that when their confidence wavered, or that they were being tested in one of their toughest battles, that this team actually had times where the role players stepped up, and it wasn't just Jokic for once. Well, except for game 7, that is. Throughout the regular season, we saw plenty of times Jokic would put up crazy stat lines, 40, 50 points, triple doubles. I mean, he had a 60-point triple double. He had a 30-20-20 game. And in his 60-point triple double, it even ended in a loss. And there were other times this season that the Nuggets would fall in some close games because, again, outside of Nikola Jokic, they struggled to find any sort of offensive consistency. But as we saw in game 7 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, some of the guys such as Jamal Murray or Aaron Gordon, who showed up in a couple of games throughout the series, were not very effective in this game 7. However, Christian Braun ended up having a very good game, at least to the start of the game, but he was not able to get much going in the second half when the Thunder blew the game wide open. It was also very apparent that the Nuggets need a backup big because the Thunder went on a 13-0 run in just the limited under 2 minutes that Nikola Jokic went to the bench at the end of the first quarter and beginning of the second, which is a major problem all season for them. And even though they lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think now the Nuggets have figured out a little more going forward from 2 consecutive second-round exits. They have figured out they need reliable three-point shooting. Aaron Gordon was tremendous for this team. The guy who was not was Michael Porter Jr. He was facing injuries with his shoulder throughout the whole playoffs, and he was very, very up and down, and especially in the series against the Thunder. He had a game where he shot 5 for 6 from 3, followed by the next 2 games combined, he was 0 for 10. And some of these were very wide open looks. Now, the problem is with the Nuggets is it'd be hard for them to really say if they want to move on from Porter Jr. or not because of his problems with his health. And as of right now, he is on a massive contract for 5 years, $180 million. I do think the Nuggets should still stick with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, though. Their two-man game is still one of the hardest things to stop in an offensive set. And honestly, I do think they should look for another guy that can create his own shot, because sometimes in the playoffs it appeared that outside of Nikola Jokic, because he was getting swarmed and trapped and being denied the ball, they had no one else that could really run the offense. But they do need a guy who can reliably knock down a bunch of shots for them. And I think also they need that guy to be a pretty decent defender, because they need a guy who's a versatile defender, a guy that can guard like a 1 through 4 or even help on 5s. I think that would help them a lot, and especially subbing him in for a guy like Michael Porter Jr., who is not very great defensively, would be a very big needle mover for them. We saw in this series again, Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson, even Julian Strawther at times, were guys that would be left open from 3, and a couple times they would fail to really cash in on these opportunities. I think the best redeeming factor, though, as part of this huge turnaround from the Nuggets, though, after a really scary last couple weeks of the season, I think this turnaround shows a lot of the competitiveness and the heart of this team. You can always feel safe knowing that you have the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. However, his rim defense is something that might need a little bit of work as well. And if they can find another guy that can be a very good help defender, I think that might actually fix some of this problem a little bit, because again, Michael Porter Jr. is not the best defensively. So moving on from him would be something they could consider. And especially with his big contract, it is just a possibility for the front office to think about going to this offseason. But I think the biggest statement from this Denver Nuggets team was just pushing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who were heavy favorites in the series, all the way to 7 games. And especially in a pivotal game 6, they went home, they took care of business, they played their hearts out, they took advantage of getting Shea in foul trouble in the first half. They went on a huge run the second he went to the bench, and then in the second half they were able to take momentum again with, again, Julian Strawther was going nuts. And for this team to make that sort of statement, being down in the series, able to secure their spot in a game 7 to give them a shot at winning, was absolutely huge. And like I said, for this team to go out and prove everyone wrong was something that honestly a lot of people doubted them. Again, I doubted them myself, and I take back a lot of what I said. Again, I do think their team still needs a little bit of reconstruction here and there, but they do have some of the right pieces. They just need to put the puzzle together fully. And I think as long as they keep that duo of Jokic and Murray together, a lot of good things will happen in their future. What do you think of the Denver Nuggets possibilities going forward? Do you think they should make any trades, changes to their roster? Honestly, like I said, I think them turning around after the coach firing, how scary that could be as a player on that team, not knowing how things are going to run, how smoothly they're going to run, and the fact they were able to still work together as a unit, put any of those issues aside, and play their best basketball of the season going into the playoffs was amazing to see. Again, David Adelman did a tremendous job as well with this team, and I think he's pretty much secured his spot as their head coach going forward. And again, the Denver Nuggets proved everyone wrong, so huge shout out to the Denver Nuggets. But yeah, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a new upload. And as always, see you next time, cuh.